welcome. Hey Arno, how you doing? What do you got going
I'm
on there?
doing great, bro.
What do you got going on over there?
Well, I don't know. There's a weird sound in the background. I don't know what's going on exactly. Maybe a motorcycle.
I'm talking about your headgear. What are you
Oh,
doing?
my head. That's that. I just made a decision to wear that without any religious or stylistic or without any thought, really. I just wanted to wear this to. I don't know. The decision kind of came into my mind and into my life.
Oh, are you saying that you just made a decision with uncertain information? You made a decision without knowing how it was going to turn out. You made a decision without having all the data, without without being sure you can know what the truth is. Is that how you made that decision?
That's exactly how I made that decision because I was like, those are uncertain times and we still need to make decisions. You know what? That could be a great theme for our show, David. What do you think?
Oh my god. You're a genius. Let's talk about it.
This is gonna be an adventure on its own. All the people are gonna come, cause it's time for Big Creek Live. Misleading and
You will do the countdown.
No, I'm not doing a countdown. I'm just going to start talking because we're live right now. So, welcome back, viewers. We are failing in our partner communication today, but hopefully we won't fail in our decisions. So, I am very excited about today's show. Today's show, we're talking about one of my favorite topics: how to make decisions in uncertain times.
Which show is that? Which show is that?
Oh, the PeaCreaLive show. The
Oh,
show that we're
okay.
on. Yes, you can see the little name in the lower left corner of your screen. It's PeaCreaLive.
Mm.
And this is it, we do this live. I mean, we could be just recording a podcast, right, whenever we want, but without mistakes and weird awkward stuff. But we don't because we want your comments to be involved in the show. That's why we're doing it live. We're
Drop the
all in
comments.
Drop the comments. We're all in this together right now in this quarantine times, these lockdown times. So come on the show, send us a comment, give us a question, heckle us, make fun of us, or participate in our discussion because we would love to hear today what you have going on in how you make decisions, how you're handling all the information overload, how you're dealing with all the insanity around what's real, what's true, and how we can actually decide what to do and what we can do. Yeah. So now, I mean, this is going to be like a new world potentially after this virus time is over. And we're in kind of a new situation now. So, how are we going to decide what to do with our work, our careers when all this is done? Are we going to just go back to normal? Is that what we really want? Do we want something else? How do we know? That's the long answer to what today's PeaCree Live show is about. By the way, PeaCree Live means peaceful creativity live. We're doing this show to try to inject some peace and creativity into all of our lives right now. We hope it helps you and you can join in the fun. How are you doing today, Arny?
I'm doing great, David. Thank you for asking, and thank you for this wonderful intro for a show that will be incredibly interesting if you guys comment. And if you don't comment, it will be interesting anyway, because this is a subject that both David and I love, how to make decisions. But still, we really want to hear from you. So write in the comments below. We're trying to we're on YouTube now. We are no longer on Facebook. We're on YouTube, so we're trying to be like YouTubers. I know it's cringe. I'm doing it a
Actually,
little
the
bit more.
comments are over there. The
Uh,
comments are on the right. This
oh,
way.
come on, man. So where's the right? Is it right
No,
here
they can
or
chat
right
during the
here?
live stream. No, the second finger. The second finger you had was
The
yeah,
second
that
one.
way. That way.
Okay,
The
great.
live
Okay,
chat is that way.
okay.
And
All
and
right.
uh, and
All
also,
right.
they say on YouTube, what are you supposed to do? Like the video. We have 2 likes on the video, by the way, already. And yeah, and if you subscribe to the channel, you won't miss our live updates. Thanks, Arno. I'm glad. And that helps these other people find these videos if you're finding it useful. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, but let's see what
Yeah.
else Arno has to say so we can get into the show. What's up, Arno? Tell
Yeah.
us.
The, the, It's really hot under this hat, so I'm going
Yeah,
to
look at the
reveal my
sun.
baldness.
It's nailing your shiny noggin. That's an English
Thanks.
slang word for head.
My 2 years old just learned to tell me hair gone. And he touched my so that was
That's beautiful.
simultaneously hurtful and really cute.
That's a touching moment.
Anyway, I know that they're gone. Yeah. So this show is sponsored by Peaceful Creativity, guys. So if you want to never miss a show, because that's the feedback I got. I was told that we do the promotion too late, which we do. Sorry, we're trying to be better at every episode.
We have
But
jobs,
if you want
people.
to never miss a show,
Sorry.
never miss a show by subscribing and subscribing to David's channel, PeaCreaLive. And there is a link below on the left or wherever. And you can put your email there so that you will be reminded by email that we have some PeaCreaLive adventures coming from you. And if you do that, you will also receive a 3-step guide, guys, an ebook, so that you can find your peace of mind right now. So this is an offer you cannot refuse. I think it's fair to say. And we made the decision to be
intensely, Arno. That's an intense.
Yeah, man, I'm getting excited by.
Oh, I have some too.
Getting excited by peace of mind. Oh, yeah.
Nom.
Okay, before we get into the R-rated category of YouTube, we made the decision to be here with you guys. We want to hear from you how you make decisions in those certain times. And now I think, David, you can kick off the discussion, because I know that you have a lot to say about decision in uncertain time, and you do decision in a different way than most people do. Is that fair to say?
It is fair to say. I do. And I learned it the hard way after making so many decisions in my life that just didn't seem to work, and the decision-making processes that were so hard. Oh, by the way, we have a confirmation from Michaela. Can I get her on the broadcast? Here we go. Michaela Becker says yes. Comments are on the right with a smiley face, and you can read that. You can read that directly on top of Arno's face right now on the broadcast. Thank you, Michaela. Confirmation. This is a community created show. I love it. That's why we're doing it. So, well, I mean, I do have a lot to say on the topic, Arno, but I talk a lot in these shows, and I want to hear. I would love to have you go first this time. Surprise! I would love to hear you talk about, what you found in your own decision journey and making decisions, big decisions in your life, because you've recently made some big decisions in your life. I mean, you obviously had big decisions around. You have a family, right? So each one of those moments of making a family is big decisions. But also, you're doing a whole new career for yourself right now. You've just basically switched careers very recently, because of some circumstances in your life, and you could have decided to go a lot of ways, but you didn't. You decided to work for yourself and try something completely new. So, that's a very recent big decision that I would love to talk about, because I think that's something that's going to be happening to a lot of people coming out of the time we're in right now.
You mean getting fired from their job?
Well, a lot of people have already lost their job. Not to be too irreverent, not a lot of people have already lost their job, but also I think, I'm hearing from a lot of people that in this reflection time that we have right now, this kind of pause, society is on a little bit of pause right now, and a lot of people are just looking at their jobs, looking at their life, and they're saying like, what I was doing, I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to go back to the way it was exactly. And I love that. I love that that's happening. And I want to encourage that and help people figure out, okay, what do we do? And I'm hearing this from a lot of people. I mean, friends are leaving me messages, it's happening in the conversations I'm having with other coaches, So the question I have for you is, how did you tell us about the decision-making process you had to start working for yourself? At the point you were in your career, and everything, and how that worked, and what you learned about making decisions. Yeah.
So a little bit of context. I was working for a company, one of the best tech company of the country, and I was very comfortable there, but I wasn't very fulfilled in my job. And but I wasn't ready to accept it you know. So I was always seeing some possibility of growth, and so I was making the decision of staying in this comfortable but unfulfilling situation. And then something happened, and I was fired, and that was a shock that I wasn't expecting it. And so my first decision was, well, you know what? I'm fired. It's almost July, August. I haven't had summer vacation since I was a kid. I want to have summer vacation. So I just used the time to do nothing and do actually a lot of things. That's not true. I mean, nothing work related, but even that is not true. Oh, I keep lying on this show. That's bad. Sorry.
I don't think it's
So
a lie
I,
if
I
you immediately
basic.
retract it.
Okay. All right. So I was just chilling, in France with my family, and I took the decision of not rushing into the next thing. That's the decision I made at that time. I wanted to see where guidance brings me, because a few days after I was fired, I was participating in one of David's retreats in the Czech Republic in the countryside, and their guidance was a theme that kept coming up, and how we don't need to make all our decisions with our mind, but we can follow our heart, follow our guts, and just follow the flow. What feels good, what's happening if I do nothing. If I just go on this flow of events. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let's give it a try, and that's what I did in July and August of last year. And at the end of this period, I was like, well, I can either find another job and be a responsible dad, a bread maker, etc. Or I can
Breadwinner.
try
Just a little
to
English, just a little English fun
breadwinner,
trivia.
breadwinner,
Breadwinner, bread maker.
breadwinner.
Literally, you're making bread. That
No,
could have been. That could
David.
have been
No,
good.
David. I wanted to make bread. I wanted to make bread, bro. So give
I'm
me a
so
break,
sorry,
okay?
man. That was your dream. I
No, I
didn't
didn't.
realize. Okay.
And no, I failed because I'm not a bread maker. I'm a coach. So another failure in my career. Yeah. So anyway, after that, I honestly, the truth is, I don't really know why I made this decision. I was like, okay, let's give it a try and see. I still have some savings, and I want to do something that feels good. I want to do something creative. I want to do something uh, that can be of service for people and that can, motivates me. So I started. Well, I removed the dust from Peaceful Creativity, which was a project I started a year before that. And then one thing led to another, and I just followed the flow. And then I decided to make a podcast, and the podcast brought me some insight, and the podcast was popular, so I continued doing it. And then coaching clients started to come, so I went into the coaching, and then there were possibility of doing trainings in companies, and I'm still very much in that process. I'm not talking from the other side of the bridge. I'm very much going through the bridge, and every day is a decision to continue or not. And the truth is, I don't really know. I don't really know how I make the decisions. Sometimes I have some rush of fears and of doubts, and I'm like, oh, am I doing the right thing? But then I kind of follow. In general, I would say I follow what feels right, and it feels right to be here with you, David, to make this live show. It feels right to coach people. It feels right to educate myself to be a better coach, a better person, and to learn about myself. It feels very, very right. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm not sure if this answers your question, David.
Well, yeah, it does. I mean, I'd love to hear that you had kind of a shift after, you had a break. You took a break. You took a pause. You took a pause from trying to figure everything out. You just decided to have a vacation. That was one of the most important things I ever did for my career, was put everything on pause. And that's a story we can get to later. But you did that. You put everything on pause, and then you decided to let yourself explore a new way of being. And one of the ways you did that was you went to the retreat that you mentioned. Yeah, I know at that retreat we talked a lot about what is guidance? Where is guidance coming from? How does it show up in our lives? What does it mean? How do we actually practically experience that? And that was those are great discussions for me as well. And we had a really interesting discussion at that retreat that I think clarified something for both of us that maybe lent itself into this decision you're talking about, And if I'm guessing here, but knowing you, I'm pretty sure I'm right. Do you know what the discussion what we're talking about there? What I'm talking about?
The one about expression?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
so do you think that did play? I mean, maybe we can tell people what the insights were in that conversation and what
Yeah.
and if that played a role or not in your decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I went to this retreat. The timing was perfect. I got fired on a Wednesday, and on Thursday, I see a reminder for this retreat, which was happening on Friday. So I was like, okay, I just got a severance package. I have nothing to do this weekend. My family is is going away anyway. So yes, I'm doing this retreat. And my one of the strong motivation to go to this retreat was, well, I just got fired after years of working at one place. I have a lot of things to integrate, and I want it. That's what I want to do in this retreat. But arriving there, there was some social things, with the group we were in that were triggering me and removing myself from the moment and from the original purpose of my visit to this retreat. And to talk more concretely, there was a guy who was pissing me off, someone who was, okay, another guy. David is always pissing me off, but there was another guy who was pissing me
Someone
off.
else also pissing you
And
off.
yeah, and just kidding, I love you, bro. And this was really taking me out of the meditations and out of all the exercises we were doing. So I went to David and I told him just that. I was like, dude, I came here to kind of integrate this big event that just happened in my life, and I keep thinking about other things which seems trivial. What do I do? And David he had a long white beard which was down to his nostril, and he was doing this with his legs, and he was like, gross hopper, you need to express yourself. And I was like, what does it mean? And it was like, expression without expectation. So just say to that person what you're feeling, what you're thinking about, without expecting that person to change, or without expecting anything, really, no outcome. And I was like, well, yeah, it seems pretty difficult. So he told me, well, you can just go in the forest and say it out loud and see what it makes you feel. So that's what I did. I went to the forest, I said it out loud. I said to this guy, well, you pissed me off because you did XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And immediately I felt some release, some relief. And I came back to the group, and I was able to spend time with everyone and focus on what was important to me at that time. And this was a great proof of the power of expression for me. So yes, definitely this played a role. Then I was like, okay, so my career needs to be about expression as well. Expression feels so right for me, to say what I mean, to not be into some corporate politic bullshit, and just tell the truth and be vulnerable and show myself with all my mistakes and all my flaws as a human. That's what I want to do, and so peaceful creativity, that's
An
it
expression
just
of you.
fit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so thanks for telling that story. There are a couple things in that story that I want to pull out. One of them is your triggers were messing with your decision making. So this is what happens to us all the time. We get in a situation that causes us some stress. We think, what am I going to do with my career, job, this relationship, this person? And we're in stress mode, and we're feeling maybe anxious or angry, or we're feeling frustrated. One of these uncomfortable emotions comes up. Those are the sign of a trigger inside of us being activated. Those are a sign of our own buried emotional wounds coming to the surface. And they mess with our decision making. You can see in this simple story, Arno was like, what do I do? Do I talk to him? Do I not? If I talk to him, well, is it going to ruin the retreat experience? Am I going to make an enemy at this retreat? Should I just stay quiet and hold it in and feel it? So it's like we get in these circles in our mind with no resolution, because our traumas and our emotional wounds are just throwing up thoughts to try to fix the situation from a wounded place. And from that place, from that stressful place, we do not have our best ideas available. We do not have our most creative mind operating. We're not connected with our heart, where a lot of our most valuable insights come from. So, teaser, by the way, spoiler alert, for the rest of this episode. When we had this conversation, it was just like, what would feel like release? What would feel good, And it was just getting these emotions out. It was having a release, about what Arnaud was feeling. And he didn't even need to involve anybody else. He just went to the woods, listened to his heart, let his insides express. He gave space to himself, and that's a form of self-love, when we give space to ourselves and what our real insides are saying. And then once he let out that emotional wound, like let out the trigger, his whole relationship with that guy was then different. The way that guy was impacting him in the retreat was totally different. And then you had a conversation with him later, didn't you? About like, hey, this is what happened.
Yeah,
you were kind of pissing me off. And I went and had this release, and you guys became actually really good friends from that.
We became a really good friend, and he was actually the first guest of my podcast. So yeah,
there you go. So it led to one expression after another. So, this is one of the key points in how do we make better decisions, is we have to ask ourselves, what does our heart want to express? And not from the perspective of trying to get anything. The reason this worked for Arnaud and led him to even bigger and greater things in the relationship with this other person, and what he was going to do for his work, was because he didn't tie expectations. He didn't burden the expression with all kinds of necessary outcomes. He didn't say, I'm going to go talk to him and then this has to happen, X, Y, Z. That's another version of our emotionally wounded mind trying to control the future, and it can't know. So, by having expression without expectation, what do we really need to share inside? That opens us to a whole world of new options. It's like, what would I do if I didn't need any particular outcome or result to happen from it? What would I try? Like this show, we had no idea. We had no idea what the show was going to be or what we're going to do. We still have no idea what it's going to be. This is only our 6th episode, but every time we ask ourselves, does it feel right to do the show? Does it feel good? And it's like, yes, we want to express this. We want to connect in this way. This feels right. This feels good. Our guidance is telling us to do the show. And we'll get more into what is guidance practically. What does it mean? But Arnaud and I are checking in all the time. Do we still want to do it? Do we still want to do it? And just like he's saying, it's a daily choice. Do I continue this path of trying to work for myself? Do I continue? But look what happened to him when he followed a decision that was in his heart, that he felt like was flow, that he felt it was in his line with his guidance. Things just started happening. His website started happening. His podcast started happening. He even had his first guest. Then some people started to come for coaching. Now he's working with, he has a whole little team he's working with. He's got totally jealous of his team that he has. He gets marketing help and things like this to do certain projects. I mean, it's great. So quickly he was able to build this thing around himself by not looking for this needs to be this, looking for how can I authentically express. Am I wrong about anything I'm saying here?
No, you're right. And I'm very lucky very grateful and lucky to have found the people who worked with me so far. So if you're watching, thank you guys and girls. This is I want to stress the importance of the daily choice and of actually the difference. Okay, here's what the mind can tell you. The mind can tell you you need a plan. You need a 5 years plan, which is changed down into 3 years and then 1 year. And you need to be very rational about it. You need to get as much information as you can so that you can base your decision on something which is solid, which is rational, which is science proof. So it sounds nice on paper, and then there's the coronavirus. No one saw it. No one saw it coming. Well, I mean, some Bill Gates saw it coming, and now they think that it was his fault. So, anyway, we don't know what's going to happen. So, following your heart, following what feels good, is as valid a choice as following your mind and your plan and your 5 years plan, because the mind, the certainty given by the mind and rationality is to a part an illusion, as we can all experience now at the moment. And another thing I wanted to add on this topic is that following your intuition or your heart is not some woo-woo thing, It's just that our beings are able to capture much more information on a subconscious level than on a conscious one. So it's actually, your intuition is just, you can think about it as a supercomputer that got like 10 times, 100 times more information than your conscious self, and who's just telling you, no, we made the we counted everything, you need to go that direction. And following it is not an unreasonable thing to do.
Yeah. I love what you said there. We just got a couple more likes, by the way. So I think people like what you're saying. I'm a live like count
cool.
is
Thanks, guys.
Is at 4. So
this
is, I know. So
thank you. Can it handle that much?
It's overloading my system. So the I love what you said there. The mind is telling you. We learn in school. In business school, I learned how to make a decision tree, where you can actually calculate mathematically the expected return, the expected value of certain decisions. But then a pandemic happens. Then everything you assumed about a situation turns out to be wrong. Then the world turns upside down. One of your partner leaves you. You get offered an opportunity you could never anticipate that's better than what you even planned for, right? I mean, our brains cannot see around the corner, but they are desperate to think they can see around the corner. So they're constantly trying to calculate the future and trying to tell us how to make decisions on this rational calculation. But as Arnaud has said, that's about 1% of the information available. So, listening to that I don't think is very wise. Look at our society is built on that. Where have we gotten? I mean, to a certain level, we've advanced tremendously, but all my favorite parts of our society that are better right now, come from like our ability to be more connected, our ability to share more, our ability to communicate like this. A psychologist I was talking to him. He's in one of the coaching groups I'm a part of. And the other day he was saying that, human beings have a demonstrable increase in empathy, as time goes on, and I mean, I don't know exactly how they figure this out, but I thought it was an interesting idea. I mean, we don't watch people get ripped apart by lions anymore, in a big theater for fun. You know what I mean? And so I think society is on a trajectory of being a more loving society. And I mean, that's the society that I'm trying to work for. And I think that's the society that our brains don't know how to participate in, because most of our brain thinking is coming from our traumas and our wounds. Most of our brain thinking is coming from these rational calculations that have so little information or wrong information, like all the information that's out right now, about what's going on with the virus. How do we know any of it is real? How do we really know? So, I mean, some of it is. I'm sure some of it is. Maybe most of it is. But is it enough to like stake our life on? So I think there's got to be a better way than just going with our rational minds to make decisions. And the things that Arnaud and I have done in our life prove that out. One of the things that proves that out for me is the story of how I switched careers. I was working as a full-time employee at a company I had worked really hard to get into, a company that was had a social mission. You know, we were actually helping the world with every sale we made, and that's the kind of business I wanted to be a part of. But after I was there for a few years, you know, I saw so many of the same challenges and dysfunctional aspects of culture that just made people disengage with their jobs, and were problems everywhere I'd worked. So, you know, I was like, this isn't it. This still isn't it. This isn't the thing that's really resonating with me. I'm not going to just jump into the next thing. I'm not going to just go get another job and work really hard to get something else that I'm only going to be dissatisfied with again. So I decided I don't know what to do. I have no idea how to make this decision. And I put everything on pause. I quit my job. I was in a relationship at the time. I put that on pause. I even left the country I was in to go sit in an empty apartment and just be with myself. I gave myself a minimum of 3 months to just figure out, who am I really? What is the real decision I want to make? What's in my heart? And I was just meditating and doing yoga every day. I was reading self-development books, spiritual books, just all the time. I started volunteering at a spiritual center. And if you saw the last episode with some great techniques for how to calm your nervous system and calm yourself during difficult times, you know, the woman who was speaking in that episode, Janie Whittemore, she was the manager at the spiritual center that I volunteered at, you know. And so this was, I just immersed myself in really trying to understand myself and not trying to make another decision from my brain. And it took me about 5 weeks just to stop, like, just for all the noise in my brain about, I need to do something to stop. You know, and I had people in my life telling me, like, what are you doing? This idea doesn't make sense. How are you going to explain this gap on your resume?
On your resume.
You know? Yeah. How are you going to, you know, tell people about this in the next place you try to work or whatever. And, you know, but I just...
Can I just react to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This is amazing, that the time that it takes for us to get rid of the corporate automatic mindsets that we have when we work it for a long time. It took you 5 weeks. I don't know. I feel like it took me the whole 2 months to get rid of that. When I was fired, I was sure I would have put, you know, I would have signed anything like. Now I'm blanking on the right English expression, but I was 100% sure that the end of this journey would be going back to corporate. I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break and experiment, but then of course I'm going to go back to corporate. There is no other way. That was coded in my mind. And now I'm looking back at that and I'm like, that's crazy how this thought was encoded deeply in me after those years of corporation. And what's even crazier is that before working corporate, I had worked 2 years, more than 2 years. 2 years as a freelancer music maker, but before that, several years as a educational leader, as they say, and still, after 4 years in corporate, I was sure that there was no other way. So I completely agree with you that it takes some time to get this poison out of your system, really.
Look,
yeah,
thank you. It fits with some people, of course. You know what I mean? I mean, we're not trying to tell everybody to leave corporate. Yes, we are. But
no, of course not. Oh.
If you, but the point is that it takes whatever your patterns are. It takes time for you to get space from those patterns. We need to be actively seeking space from these thought patterns that are embedded in our minds that we don't even know. We think they're normal. We think that because they're just how we think all the time. They're not normal. They've been somehow given to us. We've somehow picked them up somewhere, but they're not us. They're not the real us. And we need to get space from those things. So if you're making decisions only with your mind, you're at a severe disadvantage. You're not in making decisions in line with who you really are. Also, your mind is not the place that you feel love. Your mind is not the place that you feel joy. When I'm joyful, I don't point to a spot in my brain and be like, oh, it's happening right here. I mean, yes, there are associated chemicals that happen in the brain, but joy is like a full body experience. I'm feeling it in my body. Love is a body experience. I mean, we literally, we have so many expressions about love coming from the heart. That's not a coincidence. We literally have physiological changes that happen in our bodies and our hearts when we're experiencing something that pleases us on a deep, deep internal level. So we need to go find that information inside of us to make decisions. I mean, I guess, 35 minutes into the show, what we're really saying here is how to make decisions in a time of uncertainty means get out of your mind and into your heart, or get into your body, because you have deeper information in there. As Arnaud said, in our subconscious, you have deeper feeling senses and resources that are in your body, that are not in your mind. And there are all kinds of exercises we could do and I do these with people I coach. We'll share some of these today. Exercises you can do to get the information from your body. One of the simplest ones. Okay, but maybe before we go into those exercises, we talk a little more about why that information is so important. Because, and Arnaud alluded to it, your body is taking in billions of pieces of information every second. Those, you would immediately die if all of those pieces of information made it to your conscious mind. Like the point, like part of our brain's functions, one of the big functions of our brain is its filtering. It has to filter out all the information we're receiving. Otherwise we would be overwhelmed and overloaded. And that filtering process is the source of so many of our thinking biases. There's a very commonly known bias called confirmation bias, where your brain only looks for information that supports your already held beliefs. And your brain ignores information that goes against your already held beliefs. So, that's just one example of one of the actions that this filtering mechanism does. So, so what's happening to all the rest of this information? It's being processed in your body. It's being processed in the deep parts of your nervous system. And if you want to find where your most loving information is, you want to find where your most joyous action is, you want to find where your most inspired action is, these are the kind of actions and decisions we need to make if we want to create a new and better world out of a situation like this. If we want to find the information for those things, it's not in the mind. It's in the heart. I'm just going to say it's in the heart because it's easier to locate it there. When you do the work to connect with your heart, when you do the work to unearth the information that's in the heart, you will find different solutions. And, going and being in those 3 months just for myself, that was, despite all my brain freaking out and a lot of people around me freaking out, it was one of the best decisions I ever made, because after a few months, about 2.5 months in, I was just sitting in a meditation and I saw why so many of my decisions in life had not led to my happiness. And it was because all of those decisions I had made with my brain, and my brain was just run by fear. And I'm sure a lot of you are seeing that right now. We get hijacked. Our survival mode gets hijacked by things going on in this society. All the fear thoughts start coming. All the panic starts. I made so many decisions in my life out of anxiety, out of fear of what would happen if things go wrong, about fear of what other people think, fear of not living up to expectations, fear of not being a success, fear of not getting admiration, fear of not being liked, fear of being alone, fear of, just my life not being worth it, me being a piece of shit, me not contributing any value to society. All these things had been driving my decisions. Of course, they never led to my unhappiness. Why would a fear-based decision lead to my unhappiness? So I realized in that moment, I needed to make a decision. I needed a new source of information to make a decision. And I just committed. I committed in that moment to, I'm going to make decisions as best I can from love. What is the most loving thing I know how to do? What's the most loving thing I can do for my work, for myself, in my relationships, for other people? And that information comes from my heart. And I have followed that information every step of the way in my career. That question and finding what feels like the most loving, open, joyous, flowing thing to do next. That question has led to every one of my successes. It's led to me being able to work for myself for the 7.5 years I've been doing that. It's led to every like breakthrough I've had helping someone else, as a coach. I mean, it's changed my life completely. And I try now to never make decisions with my brain. And this is, great for a time like this. I know you want to jump in, Arno, and I've been on a super rant here. Thanks for hanging with me, everybody. But the way that's useful in a time like this is because, all this information coming into our brains, all these sources, what's real, what's not, let me bypass that. Let me just let that be there, drop into my heart. What is my heart saying? What is my heart saying is my truth? What is the most loving thing I can do right now? And my heart doesn't know how it's going to work out. My heart didn't know how I was going to make a career as a coach in the corporate world and with individuals. But step by step, my heart showed me the way, and it happened. It worked. So, I never had a plan. I never did any of the, all that like business planning, all that, marketing planning they tell you to do. I never did any of that. I was just following my heart every step of the way, and it worked. So far, it's completely worked. So there's something else going on, and we can get into like the metaphysical, my kind of spiritual interpretation of what's happening. But I just want to say that, I just wanted to finish that story of how my life completely changed when I ignored my brain's information and I followed my heart information.
And that's not an easy thing to do at all. I mean, so this guy who was pissing me off at the retreat is done something similar as well, following his heart in some pretty drastic decision in his life, including changing country, selling a flat, dumping everything behind. That's really difficult to do, and I'm not doing it as fully as you, David. I'm still using my brain. And
that's okay. You can use it. It's okay. It's still good. Just if we use it the right way. Sorry.
Yeah, the same way as earlier, I didn't mean to say that corporate is a poison. I think there's a lot of dysfunction in corporate, but there are also some good things there. And if it's happening for a reason that we organize this way. So if you feel happy in corporate, good for you, and enjoy it. But David corrected it correctly that it's about the patterns, and breaking patterns takes time. And both in my story and both in David's story, we have the same. You can see the similarity of there was a pause. We stopped. We got out of the rat race, out of the corporate world in our cases, but really we paused and did close to nothing. And both for David and for me, there were a lot of. It took time, It's like if you have water and oil mixed together and that you shake it all the time, it's kind of mixed. But if you put it and you wait, then slowly it will separate and it will be more clear what is water, what is oil. And now we all have a pause. Now the whole world has a pause. So I know there's a lot of people who are stressed out, who are suffering. I feel for them, but I cannot help and think that this is such a possible opportunity, global opportunity of an awakening for several people. Several people who will be like, you know what? I make the decision of doing something different in my life thanks to this pause, because it's not like David and I are heroes, that we are better than you guys or whatever. For me, this pause, it was imposed to me. I was living in my corporate bubble, and I was making money and everything. I had some great colleagues that I'm still friends with up to today. But if destiny or whatever or hadn't throw me away of that, maybe I would still be there today. It's not that I have this incredible willpower and that it was imposed to me the same way as this corona situation is imposed to the whole planet at the moment.
Yeah.
So I there is the possibility of big changes in mentality, in the way we look at the world, in the way we look at ourselves and at people around us, and our meaning and what we bring to this earth. And I think that's, although it's difficult and sad, but so are any big changes, this is such an opportunity, to consider how you make decisions and what you decide to do, with your energy, with your life, with your being, and with your time on this earth.
Yeah. And we're not saying quit your jobs, we're not, a lot of people are,
No.
we're not saying that. We're just saying, take a look at what you're feeling underneath, so that as we come out of this situation, while you're on pause, take a look at what you're feeling underneath. So when you come out of this situation, it doesn't go back to just the habitual normal, show up a little bit differently in your job, talk to people a little bit differently. What would you love your relationships to be like in your job? What would you love the kind of work you were doing, even if you kept your same job? Is there some tweaks you could make to that work? What did you learn in all this remote working that you would love to take forward and actually continue if things go back to normal working? What did you learn about how you're spending time with your family that you would love to continue? You notice I'm using the word love in every one of these questions. What is inside your heart? What is your heart saying? You know what? We just put a whole lot of things down, a whole lot of things are on pause right now. There are some things your heart does not want to pick up again. And there are some things your heart wants to grow in a new way coming out of this situation. And our brains are going to have a really hard time spotting that without the wisdom of our heart. So if I could, right now, maybe I'll just share one quick exercise that I first started using when I got into making decisions from a different way that really, really helped me. Is that cool with you, Arno?
Yeah, sure.
It's from an amazing woman, author, coach called Martha Beck. And the exercise is called shackles on versus shackles off. Everybody know what shackles is. It's shackles are like handcuffs, the chains on your body. So this is like a metaphor for how you can actually get in touch with your intuition. So this is what you do is you have a decision. Like, do I want to move out of Prague or do I want to stay in Prague? Just an example. Yeah. What you do is maybe I'll describe in detail a helpful way I started doing this is I would stand up and I would imagine in front of me, two pathways, one toward Prague, one moving somewhere else. I would take a step in the direction of one of those decisions. And I would sense how that starts to feel in my body. So when I make that decision A, does it feel heavy? Does my body feel heavy? Does my body feel drained? Do I feel a sense of constriction? Do I feel a sense of closing? Do I feel a sense of maybe like a sadness or something like this, or maybe it's just a very subtle sense of like a icky feeling, or just my shoulders getting a little bit higher, or hunching over just a little bit, that heaviness, closing, draining, lack of excitement. Those are all signs of shackles on. The decision is putting chains on you, and that's your body telling you what your intuition is saying about that decision. And then there's, maybe I'll step on the other path, decision B. And that decision, maybe very subtly at first in my body, just feels like that decision is like a slight sense of relief. Or maybe there's excitement. Or maybe it feels like a sense of opening or expansion. Or maybe even a little joy. Or maybe like just a curiosity, like an unknown, like, ooh, what would happen if I did that? It's like, or an opening, or relaxing feeling. Those are all signs of shackles off. This decision is bringing chains off of you. And this metaphor helped me out immensely when I was starting out making trying to make decisions from my intuition. I would do shackles on, shackles off for everything. I was doing it like for all big decisions, should I write this blog? Should I post here? Should I try to, get this client? Should I do this work or that work? But it was also, and where should I move? What should I do now? When I really started getting into this, one of the things that happened as a result of some of this heart-based decision-making was I ended up getting a divorce, many years ago. And, I had no idea what was going to happen after that. I had no idea what if my ex-wife was going to be okay, with this, and was worried about so many things, and just kept following my heart every step of the way, and it all played out better than I could have imagined, including where I went to live next and how that happened and what my business happened after that. So, I was using it for big things like that, but I was also using it for very small things. In fact, some of the most instructive moments of using shackles on, shackles off were for very small decisions. Like, what am I going to eat tonight? Am I going to go to that restaurant or that one? Do I want to walk down this street or that street? Because in those really small decisions that didn't have really much of a consequence, I started to learn very quickly how these feelings showed up in my body, how these feelings happened. They were like safe places to practice. Little decisions.
And then you can recognize them on big decisions.
Exactly. It's like, so find an exercise like that. Maybe you try the shackles on, shackles off, but there are lots of other body exercises you could try that I'm sure you could find them online, or write to us, or, comment on the video if you want more. But if you try that, something like that, the shackles on, shackles off, start with really small things. Start with like, where do I want to sit as I read this book? Or, what exercise, I'm at the gym. What exercises am I going to do? What feels like, the most freeing? What does my body really want me to do? What's the food? What am I going to eat for breakfast today? Those kind of small decisions that don't have a big consequence. And you'll find
which movie am I going to watch?
Exactly. Yeah. What movie am I watch? We're going to watch tonight. What Netflix series am I going to start? And then what if you are looking at Netflix series, you're like, should I start that one or that one? And in both decisions, you don't feel, in either one of them, you don't feel much of a shackles off feeling. Well, that means you haven't found the option that really is in line with you yet. So this is it's a great simple tool. I love Martha Beck for putting this out there. It's in one of her books. I think it's in her book Steering by Starlight. Great book. So, but have you do you have a similar exercise or no, or have you tried that one, or that you can share with people?
I tried that one once. I don't remember how it ended up. Usually I talk about it with someone. I talk about the decision I'm going to make, and I see how it makes me feel. And usually so that's one thing I do. And another thing I do is I just take the decision without knowing, with incomplete information. And that's something I got from the entrepreneurship program I was in. They were like, there will always be a lack of information when you create something, when you choose something. So I'm like, okay, whatever, let's choose that. And then I choose the activity or the movie. And if I don't like it, I just stop, because no biggie, And and I think we're almost at the end of the show. So maybe it's time to summarize a little bit what we did. We talked about today.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give it a shot. You can tell me or you want to go first, and I can fill in the blanks. Or.
Yeah. Okay. So, how to make decision in uncertain times, in the same way as you would make decision in a certain time, because certain time don't exist. We are always in uncertain times. It's just that now we feel it maybe more because of what's happening. So pausing is important, letting yourself the time to feel what's going on inside you, and take that as another information, not just what your brain, what your mind is telling you. That's some information, that's true, but it's just a small part of the pie of all the information you get, what your body is telling you, what your heart is telling you, and not neglecting those informations because they are not as science-based, or because you don't understand where they come from. It's, as David was saying, our body is eating billions of information at every moment, and it's just its way to communicate. I feel like you can complete the summary.
Well, I love what you said about, there are no such thing as certain times. Our brain is, any sense of certainty we have is our brain making an illusion, you know? And part of the reason this conversation is so important for me is our brain thinks it knows what's going to happen next based on information in the past. So your brain, because that's the only information it has, right? So your brain is trying to predict the future based on the past. And then we wonder why we get stuck in the same similar patterns. We wonder why things don't move in our life in a faster way. We wonder why things don't happen for us, in a like a quicker pace. It's because if we just listening to our mind, we're only listening to thoughts that are coming from our past. If we really want to create a future and a change, we have to get information that's coming from a different place. Information is coming from outside our thought patterns. And that comes from our heart-based information. So we gave you an exercise. In addition to everything Arnaud said, we gave you the shackles on, shackles off exercise. Also, in our first show, we did a live meditation to help you connect your brain to your heart. It's a coherence-based meditation. So any meditation or mindfulness you do, and Arnaud and I both teach meditation, any meditation you do that's going to drop you into your body, drop you into your heart, even if it's just breathing into your heart space and noticing what's there, noticing what you're feeling there, you are going to start to access that information more deeply. And make you're never going to know how your decision is going to pan out. That's just because you can't predict the future. That's how the world works. So you can just only do what Arnaud just said. You can just take the decision and keep checking in with how you feel. Keep checking in with how you feel. That's your best barometer, not what your brain is. So many people have stuck with things they don't like for years because of what their brain tells them. Well, I shouldn't quit this. I shouldn't quit this. Even though going to it, doing it every single day felt like such shit, And so many of us have put off things that have been in our heart for years because our brain says, I don't know how that's going to happen. That probably can't happen. A rational mind cannot see
Guilty.
how to get, a rational mind cannot see from how to get from A to B, and so we don't do it. Well, our rational mind never knows exactly how to get from A to B. We have to trust a different information source, and I'll cap it all off by just saying, that deep in your heart, that's where your spirit really, in a visceral feeling way you can feel, connects with your body. And the information coming from your higher self, that's how I really experience that information. I mean, I experience it in my heart. The insights I get in meditation, I experience them coming from within me, not coming from my mind. The sense that I'm guided, that I'm supported, that the universe is working with me and helping me and playing with me. Whenever I'm in that state of being, it's such a delicious, open, magical state of belief and trust in what's possible in this world. And that's never happening in my mind. I mean, even as I'm talking about it, I'm feeling my chest open. It's happening in my heart. So that's what we're looking for when we're trying to make decisions. And I hope it's helped you today. And if you have any questions, you want to come practice some exercises or get support in any of this, I mean, we both love supporting people in making decisions that are from their deepest and wisest knowing.
Oh, yes, David. Last time under a video of, I think it was last episode, we had a very distressed comment by a viewer.
Oh, really?
I think it happened after the show, but he wrote like a huge paragraph. Yeah. A huge paragraph, and I forgot to tell you this. So if you're in an emergency, if you're dealing with something very, very, go see, talk to how to say it, call the ER, or talk, depends on your problem, right? But, or call us or contact us quickly, because sometimes we miss comments, right? So don't write emergency, like life and death decision in the comments, talk to someone directly. I don't know if I feel I didn't communicate it properly, but
someone had a life or death emergency and we didn't respond to it, and it was a turmoil.
I mean, it's I'm pretty empathetic person, and I read these comments like 2 days after it was written, and I was like, oh my God, that sucks. And this person hasn't contacted me or you directly, neither Jenny, who was the guest on the show. So if you have an emergency, contact us directly, not in the comments. You know.
Great. Thank you. Great point. Yeah. Or as Arnaud said, we have people around us that can help. All of us have people around us that can help. Trying to get through a difficult time or an emergency. I love that Arnaud's advice for, making decisions is just share it with other people before I make the decision and see how it makes me feel. Just talking about it, all these feelings are going to go through me. It's going to help me, right? This is the power of like what we would say a coaching conversation, but you don't need to necessarily have a coach every time. You can just find someone around you who you trust to create that safe space. And if you're in an emergency, I know you have in your life someone who can help you go through maybe a healing journey if you need it, or someone who can help you deal with that crisis at the time. So, we have a quote from and a picture from Dan Hoffman. Thanks, Dan. Great chat, guys. There's a little picture of Dan right on top of Arnaud's face again. And
I cannot see it, but I'm sure he's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, he's a beautiful man. He's got like a really great beard and a classic set of glasses. He's like if you wear your glasses, he's kind of like a combination between two of us, interestingly. Well, anyway,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, you know what? Maybe it's us in the future. We become one and we travel back to comment so that more people are watching our show.
Oh my God, it's our future self guiding us from here. Thank you. Thank you, Dan, our future self. And thank you everybody else who's watched and listened. We really, really appreciate this.
Thank you, guys.
And we really, send us your questions, send us your comments, get on the email list, because then when you get our emails, you can reply directly, or you can, I think you should be able to comment on the YouTube. We'll see those. Many of you are connected to us on Facebook, and you can ask us things you want to have on the show. The link to get on the email list is below this video, and also at the end of the video in our epic outro. Oh, Michaela, she's back. She's back. Michaela Becker, I enjoyed this episode too. Yes. And then I'm going to put another one on the screen. Beard team. Dan Hoffman's on the beard team. Yes. Thank you, Dan. I wish I know you could. Yeah. So, okay. That's it, everybody. Follow your hearts. It's where your best decisions come from. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna go to what? Yeah.
On Friday, this is the only episode this week. There is no other episode on Thursday, Friday because of Easter. But we'll be back next Tuesday. We'll let you know at what time. I think it's gonna be 6, but we'll confirm. And thank you for watching.
Yeah, but if you want to be sure to find out when it is, definitely get on the email list.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But by that time, you'll be subscribed. So
yeah. Yeah, obviously. So thank you so much, everybody. Cue the epic outro.